Well, he's done it again. Chuck, aka Charles Leclerc, has put it on pole for the second race in succession. What a qualifying. Ferrari won too, but pole does not mean a good thing at Mexico with such a long run down to turn 1. I'm sure Ferrari would think about some strategy tonight in terms of, him and Sainz working together as Carlos qualified in second place to try and hold that 1-2 down to turn 1. The Ferrari is very quick on the straight, so we'll see what they come up with. Either way, qualifying was a lot of fun. Ferrari 1-2, front row lockout, Verstappen only P3, and the big surprise, Daniel Ricciardo P4 in the AlphaTauri on genuine pace and out-qualifying Perez in his home race. Not just that, the big surprise, Lando Norris out in Q1. So a big surprising qualifying session. A lot of ups and downs, unpredictability, and really enjoyable. So today we're going to try and beat Leclerc's time, a 1 minute 17.1. We are driving a laser scanned version of Mexico, which is really awesome. The sponsors aren't realistic, but get by that. That's a minor detail for the sake of driving a laser scan track. So let's get into it. We're going to get the car set to some baseline modes, and we're going to get into it here early on and see what we're looking at. So starting off the lap, DRS now open as we prepare turn number 1. Long way to go. It's a long run. We want to try and spot the 100-meter board for this one, which is going to be a good baseline reference. On the anchors, down a third gear, possibly fourth. You want to sacrifice the first one to open the second, which will open the third once we get the exit right, and that will help you down the second straight, closing out sector 1 and starting sector 2. 100-meter board again for turn 4. Open up turn 5, dip the second to try and get some decent low-end speed, and now into a double apex right. I don't know if it classes as 5 and 6, but it's the hairpin. And now we head into the S section. Down 2 gears, fourth on entry, short shift to 5th, keep the throttle pin through the left, then down a couple of gears. This is much tighter than the F1 game and much more like real life, of course, with the laser scanned version, so it's much more technical. And now sector 3 kicking off with this slightly tricky downhill right into the now off-cambered left at the Foro Sol Stadium. Second gear, you want to drive over the curbs here and use every bit of the track available. And now the final corner, try and open up the steering to get the power down early. And up to the line, our first banker is a 119.3, so only 2.2 away already, so a good start. Let's go back to the garage, let's make some adjustments, and let's see what we can try and do on a second run. So attempt number 2, I've made some adjustments. You can see we're now on the C4 soft tyre. I believe they have C5s available this weekend, so we have a step softer to go down to if we wish. I've increased the wing quite a lot as they run max downforce in real life, and that is going to be necessary. So let's get into it. Second attempt, also a small tweak on the brake bias, a bit more to the rear, and then of course a reduction of fuel. So down to turn 1, we're going to try and spot the 100 once again. Wait for it. Down the third, and then try to open up the exit. This time we don't lose the back end, although we do have a bit of oversteer in the final part. Still though, quicker than the previous run. Down to turn 4, brake at the 100 just after. Try and aim towards the apex to get the car turning a little bit smooth in the slow section. The softs are going to help here quite a lot of the C4s compared to the previous tyre. Power down, and now into the S section. Fourth gear, up to 5th straight away. Use the inside curb to help slide and rotate the car. We have a slight drift. Didn't quite get all the apex there. The curbs are very slippy. Smooth exit. And as we run down to sector 3, we're going to keep it in 4th this time as we clunk the inside curb. Don't run too wide on that one, otherwise the car will bottom out. Into the hairpin. Short shift to 3rd. Use all the curbs again here to make the track as wide as possible. And now the final corner. Power down, try and keep a tight line if you can without losing the back end, and it's going to be an 18.8, actually only half a second to be fair. That was not as much as I thought. Bit of a surprise. So we'll go back to the drawing board, put some C5s on it as well. We'll see how the tyre temps hold up on that tyre as well. If the tyres are still cold on the C5s, then we can start to mess with the pressures and really start to push things and find some more time. Now before we get into the next run, I know a lot of you in the comments are already typing oh, your straight line speed is so low in real life, they're doing 340, 330. You can't replicate the thin air because of the altitude in Assetto Corsa in the sim. So even though we're losing out, you know, on the straight, I would say the downforce is actually acting better in this compared to real life. So what we're losing on the straight, we're gaining back in the corners, and that's just the downside of, you know, a sim not being able to replicate, no sim by the way, be able to replicate what we see in the special circumstance of Mexico where they're such high up. So bear that in mind. Anyway, let's do it. C5s, this is going to be a proper test now to see what we're looking at pace wise here. Trying to clunk over these curbs. There we go, backhand this time working, tyres gripping up. I'm also using a bit more engine mode and a touch less fuel. Keeping it nice and tidy so far. A little bit wide, they didn't get all the apex through that one. Into the hairpin. Give up the first apex to get the second one. Traction up on the curb. And now we should hopefully see the benefit through here. A little bit early there with a turn in. Not ideal. Slight little lift just to keep the car stable. Carrying way more speed now through the S's. This should be a much more competitive lap. On the anchors into the stadium once again. Tyre temp still a bit cold, so we can definitely work with that. Find a few corners. Really good lap though, really clean lap. No mistakes, keeping it super tight. Up to the line we go. And it's a 17.7. We find a full second, so those adjustments making a big difference. I've got a touch more engine mode to find, but we're now getting into the nitty gritty and the small details on the setup. So I'm gonna go away now. I think I'm gonna go for my sweat lap. I think I can achieve it. We're 0.6 off. So let's make some small final tweaks, try and get a bit more tyre temp, and see if we can hopefully try and beat that 17.1. Not the best start to a lap. Anyway, let's see if we can try and find some time. Apex not found. Whoa. Okay, now we're talking. Now the car's getting loose. We're starting to push now and find time. Not quite. That was a really good lap, to be fair. Some slight twitches, but that was pretty much on the money. It's going to be close, you know. I think I'm going to have to really hit a perfect lap. I don't know what more I can do on the setup front, really. I'm quite happy with the balance. Oh yes, great lap. Really, really nice lap. Whew, 69, happy with that. Don't think there's a ton more in that. We got the setup spot on and the car felt really nice to drive. Happy with that. So job done then. As you'll see now, the setup is pretty straightforward. So C5 tyre, which is the softest compound available this weekend. Pressures, I went low on the front to the lowest possible to try and get that tyre temp up, and also on the rear went down by 2 clicks. Fuel was down to 4 litres, just enough for literally a time lap and an out lap. Electronics were set to qualifying and motor on the best lap, 20% MGUK recovery, and engine brake. I did try 9, and I think what gave me that time difference on the last lap is going back up to 10. I felt like the engine braking made a big difference in the slow corners, especially the hairpins, so happy with that. Aero 7.7, 1 click off max, pretty much very high downforce as they are running in real life. Brakes 55, I was trying 54, but 55 had a bit better balance, so I kind of had less oversteer, and I increased the brake power by 2% on the last lap to try and find a bit more, you know, heavy braking without locking, so just trying to find a bit more performance without sacrificing stability. And then the rest of the car is default, pretty good baseline, so no need to change anything, and overall very happy. But that is your lot, guys. That is it. Another episode in the books, another W in the win column, and we go again in the next one. Back-to-back poles for Leclerc. Will he drive better today than he did in USA? I guess we're going to find out. Can he convert that pole into a win? What is Ricciardo going to do? Predictions down below, guys. What do you think is going to happen? As always, the mods used in the video will link down below, so go check those out. As always, a big shout out to the members. Like the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're so close now to 100k. If you're new, please subscribe. It really does help me out. And yeah, check out the 2 videos on screen if you haven't seen them. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, and that's goodbye from me.